We have another guest waiting by.
Yes, absolutely. And now it's time to turn the spotlight on the telecom space. The Telecom Regulatory Authority of India has recommended the introduction of voice and SMS-only packs for prepaid customers. The TRAI body says it will give consumers an option to pay for only the service they actually require, and they won't be forced to buy data because it usually comes bundled. I mean, as of now, most packs are bundled. That's one. Then, of course, we had the telecom subscriber data come out a couple of days back as well. So let's analyze all these trends with Gaurav Malhotra, Executive Director at Axis Capital. Gaurav, season's greetings. Thank you so much for joining in. So this was an interesting one. You know, we were all talking about it, how it's a little unusual. We're not used to seeing too many tariff or, product packaging, pricing related recommendations from TRAI, but that's exactly what they've done. Now, let's see how the companies respond to it, whether they'll pay heed, because it's not a regulation. It's a suggestion. It's a nudge. What do you make of it? And which way would this go? Because if they do introduce, say, just a 99 rupee pure voice-only pack, will it lead to down trading?
Yeah, hi. Good morning, everyone. See, the way to think about it is that, today Bharti has, say, around 10% of its revenues coming from 2G. Vodafone has, say, around 17-18% of the revenues coming from 2G subscribers. Right? So in the overall pie, this is a much smaller revenue. The second thing to note is that, this whole data bundling, which is happening for the entry-level voice, it's not too much of data. It's just like 1 GB, 2 GB of data, which is in today's context is quite minimal. So, and the third thing to understand is that, there are always ways and means to restructure these bundles, right? You can unbundle it, but it does not mean that you have to cut the price. No way does it say that the mandate is to sort of take down the pricing or tariffs, right? So there are ways and means to restructure. And in the overall scheme of things, like I mentioned, from an overall revenue perspective, the salience is much, much lower for Bharti and to some extent to Vodafone Idea as well.
Okay. Just coming back in a minute to you, Gaurav, just looking at the rates as they open, my eyes actually taken to the rupee, 85.23 there. Remember, on Tuesday, the Reserve Bank allowed the index, allowed the currency to depreciate. So this, usually you see them coming in after the first 5 pies or 10 pies. But on Tuesday, it went all the way from 85.1 to 85.2, where it ended from 0.10 to 0.20. And we didn't see too much of intervention by the Reserve Bank. Of course, we realized by end of the day that the FPI has indeed sold 2,500 crore worth of stocks. But today, the the first opening is at around 85.23 levels. So clearly, we are going to see another bout of weakness. On the stock side itself, I mean, I'm not reading it simply because it is so totally confusing. It started off with a 1% downtick, and now it's down about 0.5. Sensex is down about 0.2. I think we should let the market settle. These are still wild rates, you would say?
I think, anyway, it's only 9 o'clock and, we're in a holiday mood market. So let's wait for things to
it's still a little
cool
crazy.
off. Yeah. But Gaurav, to go back to that point, so what you're essentially saying is that unbundling doesn't necessarily have to mean lower pricing. And that's fair. Let's see how, telecom companies respond to this. But overall, coming also to the other trend, which is, in general, some of the dual SIM or triple SIM sort of subscribers, they've been now disconnecting, which is why the subscriber numbers in the last couple of months, right? We've been seeing lower subscriber additions. What do you make of that trend? And in general, as we're looking at the next year as well, purely in terms of outlook, how does it look like for some of the bigger incumbents?
See, if you look at, this generally happens after every tariff hike. There is a sticker shock, there is some down trading, there is some reduction of multi-SIMing, and which essentially happened this time as well, right? But if you look at the October data, you'll see that Bharti is back into a positive territory. And while Jio is continuing to see a negative addition number, but if you have to see from an active subscriber base, Jio's proportion of active subscriber base has gone up, say, from 92% in June to almost 97% in October. So there is some sort of a cleanup of the inactive subscribers, which is also happening. So these things tend to happen every time, and come, say, 4th, 5th month, it goes back to normalcy. We are seeing it going back to the trend levels, Bharti going up, BSNL additions are also sort of coming off now. So nothing much to sort of look at this from a longer term perspective.
Well, Gaurav, let's get down to brass tacks. What are your buys in the sector? I think when we last spoke to you in early December, you had a buy on Indus Towers. But anything else in the pack, including Indus, remains a buy?
No, so actually Indus is an add for us. We feel that, based on the valuation and the fact that, almost 30-40% of its incremental revenues is premised on Vodafone's network expansion, which is then contingent upon how much debt it manages to raise. So we, for now, on Indus, we are on the sidelines. Our top pick remains Bharti Airtel. In terms of execution, earnings momentum, it's doing very well. And with the kind of free cash flow generation, we also feel that, over a period of time, there is a possibility of some formalization of dividend policy, which could act as a further re-rating trigger.
Okay, so Bharti is the top pick. Now, what about tariffs in 2025? The market is hoping that maybe they'll be able to take on one more. But what is the possibility? I mean, the quantum, voice, data, what should we expect in the months ahead?
See, the thing is, I think so. The likelihood of tariff hike in calendar year 25 looks low. The last tariff hike, there was a gap of almost 2.5 years versus the earlier hike. We do feel that, going forward, the time gap will reduce between tariffs. But from 2.5 years, it's not going to come down to suddenly 1.5 years if the tariffs are to take place in this calendar. It may be, like, say, a couple of years kind of a gap. And in terms of the quantum, we feel that, given the transmission of from tariff to ARPU has been very strong this time, almost 80% plus for Bharti, we do feel that going forward, the industry won't have to take very high hikes to achieve its long-term stated goal of ARPU uptake. Maybe around 8-10% hike itself will be a good enough kind of a number for them to achieve, say, an 8 to 10% increase in their ARPU. So shorter gaps in tariffs, and also smaller hikes going forward.
So 8 to 10% increase in ARPU, do you see that happening in the new fiscal, if not the calendar year, but in the new fiscal? That's your assumption? That ARPUs could go up by?
So the ARPU will go up by 8 to 10%. They will be, for ARPU to go up, it's not just the tariff, right? There's
absolutely, yeah.
Happening. And that itself can take up your ARPU by 6-7%. And then there is some... So our base case today is that the tariff hike will probably happen sometime in 26, but it's very difficult to time these things. But our overall ARPU increase over the next 3 years is a CAGR of around 10%.
Got it. So CAGR of 10% ARPU increases because of various initiatives that the companies take, the subscriber addition, and obviously what they do on tariffs.
And the fact that all of us will watch Netflix and more.
We will not stop consuming data. That's a given. On the last point on subscribers, once the impact of the previous round of tariff hikes is fully done, and all those who have these multiple duplicate SIMs, they finally disconnect. On subscriber addition, how do you see the battle between Jio and Bharti playing out in 2025, and who do you think will be ahead?
See, we continue to feel that Jio will be ahead in terms of the subscriber additions, just because of the strategy of keeping tariffs low on the Jio Bharat phone. So the entry-level Jio Bharat phone pricing is roughly around 120 rupees. The entry-level voice for Bharti is around 199 rupees. So Jio will get a higher proportion of those subscribers who are unable to sort of either move up to 4G, and they'll probably then start shifting to Jio. So at an aggregate level, we feel that Jio will continue to remain the leader in terms of subscriber additions.
Okay. Got that. Gaurav, thank you very much indeed for joining us and giving us a comprehensive understanding of the telecom space and the new TRAI recommendations. Only recommendations, can't be forced. Hope you have a brilliant 2025.
You too.
Thank you.